Hello, I am back. This is another Tuesday. And of course, we are talking about how to simplify your child's life, especially in this day and age. That is such a need. How to simplify your child's life. So, in this presentation, we will be covering how to simplify why, just why you need to simplify your child's life and how you can do it. So we'll jump right into our presentation. The hustle and bustle culture, that's what we're a part of, where everything is we need to get up and go. We have the boss chicks, we have the let's get it now, we got to work hard for our goals, no matter what it takes, no matter who or what is in our way, we are going to get it done. That is what the hustle culture says. So everybody has to go with that, and it is crushing people. It is crushing a lot of persons. How can I be this career woman and at the same time do take care of my children and find balance? So a lot of families are struggling because they're on a road, and this is like a fast train, a fast track to what the world calls success. And guess what? Children are also caught in the culture. They are caught in that hustle culture that, let's get it done. I mean, there's so much that's packed on children. Even for as young as 2 years old, you hear people, they're so proud that their children are in school, sitting and working. And is the brain ready? That's what we're going to be looking at today, caught this evening, caught in this culture of let's get it done. Let's get that A grade. Let's come on, children. Let's work hard 7, 8 hours from class to class. Let's do this. This is a hustle culture. And it is doing, it's like there is a war on children. That's what it is, basically. That's what this is what the experts are saying, a war in children, based on the fact that children are forced into adulthood, forced to live a life of hustle and bustle and stress. The modern culture, this is what this is saying, go do it. And one of the things that is really sad is people brag about this. Like, it is so accepted, they've made it normal, where people will say, well, I don't have time to eat, and that is so cheered on. I don't have time to sleep, I'm working so hard, I'm so tired, and it's like a badge. People are just overdoing it and going, and it's like, okay, I don't eat, I don't take care of myself, and I can just rush, and guess what, I'll be praised, I'll be lauded, because girl, you're getting that goal, you're getting that bag, you're going for that money, you're setting up your image, and whatever it takes or break, you're going to do it. And the sad thing is, as I said, children are drawn into this from a very early age. The child is asked, what is it that you want to become? And that is stirred up from a child. The child is still exploring, still young. What are we going to do about that as God's people? How are we going to function under all of this? Is this what we're supposed to be doing? Now, this is a very interesting book, Simplicity Parenting, by Kim John Payne. And he's an author, of course. We see that he's a counselor, a consultant. He has worked with many schools, and he's also had a little practice, that he would do with families. And he had he was working in a group home where he also had a professor, was like a student. And while he was there, he observed, he was in the class where they were talking about PTSD, that the soldiers, post-traumatic stress disorder, that the veterans would go through. And while they were describing all these different symptoms and, stresses, then he said he realized that everything that they were describing, what he looked back at the children he was working with who were abused, and he said, wow, this PTSD is also, he could name children who were similar. And then he went on to volunteer in war zones. And while he was there working with children, as he specialized in that, he noticed that a lot of the things that was talked about from his professor he was seeing here, and he took interest in that, the same kind of behaviors, that he was seeing in the children. They were jumping, hyper alert, nervous, and just edgy. And you can, if you try to introduce anything to them that was new, there would be like a panic, and so they wouldn't allow it. And he took note, and he was saying these things that he noticed to his professor, and he told them, observe and write them down. As a matter of fact, so when he moved to England, he decided that he would set up a little practice in a rural part. And while he was there practicing, families came to him. And these families were, multicultural families. And what he discovered was that the children there were just like the children his professor described, the veterans, and also the children he saw in the war zones. They were jumping, nervous, edgy, hyper alert, and he realized, he didn't want to make much it was shocking to him, but he said it was a bit scary to really put that to it. But in doing further research and many years of it, he realized that they did some studies and found out, guess what, it's right there. Kim observed in his practice in England in the 1980s that children's system had been overrun with modern life, and their coping was seen in their hyper alert and overwhelmed states, similar to children in war zones, because of the modern life. And listen, this was in the 80s. And today he does his presentation. He talks about, the mainstream kids, and it's like they have soul fever. It's like emotional immune system fever, basically calls it, right? Or culminative stress reaction, similar to PTSD. And it is because of the modern life, the stress, the amount of things that the children they are called upon to do. They're doing swimming lessons, they're doing gymnastics, they're doing this and that, and they're in that, and their schedule, everything is so packed, and they're not allowed to what? To blossom. They're not allowed to blossom. And there is a problem. So the children are overwhelmed. Parents are seeing it. They're bringing them in. They're saying their children are edgy. And guess what this leads to? Diagnosis. Yes, that's what it leads to. It leads to diagnosis. So children are definitely going to be diagnosed because they're overrun with society, and the demands of adulthood are poured into children. We can't do this. We can't do this to our children. We are stewards. We have to, as parents, we are giving our children for a very short time to care for. And we have to remember that this trauma is going to go right into adulthood. Right into adulthood. So we're going to be seeing a lot of problems, a lot of issues with children and with adults. We're going to see those if we don't put brakes on this thing. So National Institute of Health says what? The most diagnosed mental health disorders among children ages 3 to 17 years, this was 2016, 2019, attention deficit disorder, anxiety, behavioral problems, depression. Children. Think about your childhood and how you grew up. I would hope that, of course, it's a lot of childhood trauma, unfortunately, in this day and age. But a lot of, back in my time, it was getting there, because that's exactly when, he started seeing these things. But even before that, children are what? Playing and running, and not so academics, like, academics, beat the books at 2 all day. They're losing it. Mental health crisis. This is an epidemic. This is an epidemic because parents are pushing, because they want to go up the ladder and they don't have the time. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you notice, even babies barely coming from the womb, 6 weeks old, needing the mother. And guess what? Who has them? In daycare among strangers, when the mother is supposed to be holding and cuddling that baby. Isn't that sad? Because of what? The hustle culture. And some people will say, oh, well, the mother has to work and do this. And I'm sure, yes, we do have single mothers, but I'm calling upon us as a society to do better. We have to do better. We have to do better in how we are focusing and how our jobs are going. And I'm sure there were people who were in dire strain many years before, before daycare came about, way before daycare came about, right? And how did they manage? How did they manage? And the mothers had to still be doing, how did they manage? So once the family is broken down, we see a lot of problems, a lot of issues. So in the same book, Simplicity Parenting, it says the pressure is off when childhood is no longer seen as an enrichment opportunity, but instead as an unfolding experience and ecology with its own space and natural systems. Wow. Because everything now, as soon as a child sits down, everybody runs with something to give the child, some paper, something to, it's like time is going by and you're wasting time. What about sitting and thinking? What about solitude? You know how many, do we know how much comes from just thinking? Have you been in the shower and then a lot of thoughts come just pouring in? You know why that happens? Because you have that time. Your brain has that way now to just escape, especially if you have been so preoccupied with other things. And especially in this day and age with the technology, your brain just needs a release. So what are we doing to our children? Childhood is that it's not a time to be, it's a time to be lived. It's not a time to just hurry up and get through. It's not just a time for that. You have to go through childhood. There are many things to be learned. There's a lot to do even to prevent trauma, because this is, you're building character here. You're building how we function as adults and stability and self-control and all of that. And if you're not managed, if everything comes at the child so fast, so soon, what will happen to that child? How will that child progress as a teenager and then further on as an adult? We are going to see a lot of problems. So this is why we're doing this presentation this evening. Okay, the first 8 years, this is in child guidance, the first 8 years of, or 8 or 10 years, children should not be long confined within doors, nor should they be required to apply themselves closely to study until a good foundation has been laid for physical development. This is counsel that we have gotten long time, probably late 1800s to early 1900s, long time. That children, the first 8 to 10 years, this is when the character is being formed, right? This is when the child is learning. And you send the child out of the homes in 6 weeks among strangers. What will happen to this child? I'm sure, yes, we're resilient, but there are lots of things that will happen that we could prevent if we had taken care to take some of these counsels in and not be pushing study and pushing this and pushing that, but instead allowing the child to be a child, right? Just allowing this child to be a child and to grow. How about, let me see. Yes. So even when the child is old enough to attend school, his health should be regarded as a greater importance than a knowledge of books. Are we taking this seriously? This is child guidance again. He should be surrounded with the conditions most favorable to both physical and mental ability or health. That is what should be happening. We should focus on developing that. But what is going on? There has been a shift, and that shift has been to do what? That shift has been to for academics. That's not true education. Just academics. There are a host of other things that the child needs to learn. So just to say, okay, from this age to that age, all you're doing is just hitting the books, hitting the books, hitting the books. No wonder a lot of children don't remember. Do you remember what you even studied? Half of the things you did, you don't remember. More than half. You'd forget because you did it in a way that was just put into you, talk, 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 talk. So you didn't get enough time to process it or to really learn it properly. So you end up forgetting it. Why simplify your child's life? Why should we simplify our child's life? You think that is important? After all that you're hearing, right? I think so. We definitely need to simplify our child's life. And look at those children out there. Just kids, it seems like it's a kid's cabbage patch that they're going to be planting. A simple life. The simplicity, and this reminds me that when man was first created, man and woman, God placed us in a garden. It's for a reason. It's for a reason. It's to show us going forward where our best, like this is our best of our best, our capabilities or our capacities. We will function at our optimum best if we're in nature and in the environment how God placed us, because He created us and He tells us what's best for us. This is how He made us, right? If you have a particular car and you're going to take that car to the mechanic or to the dealer or to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer will say, this is the oil that you put in it that will run it the best optimal function. You may put another one and it runs, but it's not going to be the best, right? So you take heed. It's the same. God created us and He's our creator, and He tells us. I mean, when you look, it was the garden. So we had abundance of food. We had the river. It tells you the rich earth. Everything was there for us to prosper, to live in a life of abundance. But what do? We don't want that, right? We want to work hard and push and strive and bring our kids along to accomplish the works of man's hands. And I'm not saying that we should not, all of us are called to do things differently, but the way to success, as Jesus says, we have to be very careful as what we call success here on earth, getting up material goods and people praising you and stuff like that. We have to be very careful the path that we take towards getting it and how we're pushing our children, because we have to give an account. We have to give an account. And these children, oh, these precious ones, right? These are very precious children that we need to take care of. So the question was there, why simplify your child's life? First, to reduce stress. Too much, too soon. The body is just filled. Can you imagine the stress hormone cortisol that's supposed to help you? It's just flooding you. Remember when you have a state of emergency, a flight or fright or freeze or flock or fawn, all of these different ones, and you're in a stressful situation, you need that adrenaline rush. You need that, right? And then cortisol comes in to support that. But that is, if it's sustained too long and you're in that stressful state for too long, what's going to happen to you? You're going to start, your body going to collapse. You're going to go into different anxiety, a lot of other mental health issues and physical problems. As a matter of fact, I did some a few years ago some research, and it showed that majority of people who go to the doctor's office, I think over 90%, it is stress related. That's why they're there, stress related. And sometimes they can't even find the complication because of stress, a modern life. This society of getting and get all you can, no matter the cost, is killing people. And the home is in a disarray. There's too much stress. Come on, kids, get up, get up, get up, get up. Before the crack of dawn, everybody gets up and through the door to sit all day at the young children, some going to daycare. I mean, think about it. All of this is just coming at the children. It's not normal. It's not a natural way to live. Okay? That's not a natural way for society to function. And it's artificial, because the Bible tells us that you are supposed to be raising with your parents, with your children day to day. And the society have forced even to a point where some parents don't even want to see their children because of what society have put into them. There is no bond there. The bond is not there. They can't wait. I can't wait for summer come, for summer to be ended, for them to go back to the school. I can't wait. Missing opportunities. And down the road is going to come back and bite you, right? Yeah, you missed that opportunity. You missed the opportunity to bond and to teach. It's a very short window. So too much at the children too soon. Like I said, yes, you want to do gymnastics, you want to do speech, you want to do basketball and football. Hey, how about doing one? No, focus on one thing. And then we can see how we manage as the time goes by. Don't push everything once, because guess what you become now? Jack, ever hear it? Jack of all trade and master of none. So you're doing everything, but you're not known to do anything very well. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. So too much for the children too soon. We want to reduce stress, as we see where the stress is going to lead to anxiety and a lot of mental health issues. That's what we want to. We don't want that. We don't want our kids to be. We want them to be healthy. We want our children to be healthy. What else? To reduce mental and behavioral challenges. We just talk about that, the mental health issues and the stress, the behavioral problems, that this is their way of coping. This is their way of coping. That's why Kim John Payne, the man I mentioned earlier, in his book, that is why this was a challenge that they were having. The children were using their hyper alertness, their jumping and their nervousness. It was a way to cope. It was a way to put up boundaries around themselves. They are becoming what? Overwhelmed. And as soon as babies are born now, even babies are being stressed. Babies need quiet. Their brains are developing. They need peace. They have the news running all day and the noise all day in the baby, nonstop. Babies need peace and fresh air. I mean, there's a lot to it. So to reduce mental and behavioral challenges. So the child is going to be coping that way. And then guess what? You're going to say, oh, this child is out of control and this and that. And then you're going to try to take them to the doctor to medicate. You see where we're going? You see where we're going? And this same man did this study and found out that when he introduced certain things to the children in terms of helping them, those things within 3-4 months, a lot of them were no longer diagnosed. They were no longer clinically diagnosed with the ADHD or anything. They were able to function just normally. Can you think about that? To promote emotional stability, right? How do you cope with your emotions? Emotional stability. You want people to be calm. You don't want people to be jumping up, screaming. If I'm here talking to you now and then I just break down and I'm not saying somebody can't do that, right? I'm not saying that. But you want the person to be stable, to be calm, to be self-control, having restraint. They're able to manage your anger and stuff like that. So you promote that when you simplify a child's life. What else? Allow children to be children. Allow children to be children. Children are children. They are supposed to be children. They're supposed to be playing. And they're not supposed to be sitting at a desk all day. What are they learning? What are they learning all day? How about taking them and teaching them the basics? Thank you. Please. May I, and so forth. There was this teacher, he went viral many years ago before viral was even a much big thing. And he what he did, he said, oh, so many parents are bragging when they take their children to me. They're bragging and they're saying, oh, my child can read and write already in kindergarten. He was a kindergarten teacher. And he said, oh, so many people are bragging that their child can read and write. How about teaching them manners, how to share, how to work with each other? Because the truth is, they're going to learn those things anyway. He said that, and man, that went viral. And guess what? They translated it in English, Spanish. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was from French or wherever, but it was just translated in so many different languages. It was even on the big news. I don't remember if it's CNN or wherever, but he was there. They interviewed him just for saying that, because they're like, why brag about something that is going to happen anyway? As long as your child don't have any brain damage or any learning disability, they're going to learn. And even with that, they can learn. You will be surprised. As a matter of fact, I went into the classroom some years ago. I went in and it's a special needs class for the day, right? As a substitute, I went to a special needs class. And that's one of the best experience you can have as a substitute, because you get to go around and see a lot of things. And I went that day and I had the special needs children. Now, listen, these children were rocking behind desk. They were banging. They were doing all kind of things. And they weren't there all together in terms of cognitively. You know that, right? These were really special, some special needs kids. And I went in there was an assistant. So I said, okay, what's the plan for the day? And he said, well, it's up to you. As a teacher, you can do whatever you choose, but this is what the teacher has left. And I said, okay, you know what? Let me take these children outside and get them from fresh air. What do you think about that? He said, well, it's up to you. And guess what I did? I took them outside. It was like after 10 in the morning, it was crisp. Oh, beautiful. The wind, it was just perfect. It was not too hot, not too cold, but a little chill. And those children ran and played so much. I never forget it. My heart was so full. And even talking now, I have to be careful. I get emotional. My heart was so full. I said, wow. And if you had passed and looked at those kids on the field, you would not know those were special needs kids. They were running, playing. They were so happy, so joyful. And I said, man, what madness. We have paper before these children sitting down all day. And guess what? It's like almost like a criminal offense now. That's what it's becoming. It is a criminal, basically, offense, like a concentration camp. Why are we doing these things to children? Why? We have to do better. That's one of the things I always advocated for. They will tell you, I take out the entire school, the entire school district out of the classroom, and everybody went walking. Like, seriously, I did that, right? So it is important. How are we living our lives? We're hunting. What are we hunting for? Remember, money is one, that's just one resource. You need it, it's just one. Health is another resource. Time is another one. Why pour yourself into everything, into one little thing? There's so many resources, right? To promote creativity. That's another way. Why are we simplifying? To promote creativity. When you just allow the children to just suck in all of this, to be anxious because they're on the screen a lot, they're sitting down a lot, they don't get time to think. How will your creativity blossom? Think about, I'm telling you, if you take a little time to spend more time with yourself, you're going to be shocked to see what you're capable of doing and the thoughts that come to you to promote creativity. As a matter of fact, some of these novels that you like and some of these authors, famous, they will tell you they had to go in isolation to write these books. Literally shut down all noise, everything, to think and to write. There was one producer, he did what, 40 years, he produced 40 films. I'm not sure, I don't know how he do it, right? I don't know. He was probably one of those get go, but guess what? He avoided anything that was, emails online. He said no, because it would distract him. Even when 23 of his work got Nobel Peace Prize, and when it was time for them to award him, they couldn't even find him, right? Because he was quiet. So simplifying your child's life, less is more. Getting rid of too much of the toys, and we're going to go into that. Less is more. When you do that, then the child can think, they can finally be a child. It's okay if they get bored. We don't, when you hear a child get bored, people try to hurry up and fill the gap because they feel like they're failing. They're failing. What are you failing? You're not failing. It's just you're trying to stuff this child now because of that whole thing of, oh, what am I not doing right? No, we don't need to do that. Yes. Okay. So before you simplify, because I just said why we need to simplify. Now we're going to talk about before you simplify. Before you simplify, what? Go back to your core values. Last week, we talked about core values. What is important to you as a family? Because remember now, if you jump up and say, I'm going to simplify, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but you're not grounded in your values. You don't know what you believe. Soon or later, you're going to end up doing this, going back, default. You're going to default. So to prevent that, before you simplify, go back to my video last week and watch what are core values and how you can do this. I'm going to still do a quick review here. So if you don't have core values, what will happen? You're going to shift, I just said it, to what the culture wants, right? Whatever the media says, the society, culture, that's what you're going to subconsciously shift to. So if you don't identify your own, remember, you're not born with it, but it was shaped as you grew older, your values grew. So like I said, if you were not a person who of order, you're born, you don't know anything about order, but as you see it around, you may decide, I want to be a person of order, and you accept that. Or you might be like, my family didn't care about order, and so I didn't think it was anything, because by beholding, you become changed too, right? So those are certain things that, what is your value? Do you value, time with God? And what are your values? Do you value your health? Do you value integrity? All of those things, that there are lists that you can sit and list all for 300, lots of values that people have, right, that they may want, right? So you need to know what your core value is. So in today's world, those values include image. We talk about that, money, material things, success, competition. And so because that's what the value is in the world, that's why they're pushing those things on children, and children are losing it. They are losing it. So you're talking about the attention deficit disorder that I mentioned, the anxiety, the behavioral problems. They're losing it because the image of money, parents want to push push hard. So, who is going to stay home? No, we don't want to stay, go to daycare. Who is going to do? No, they have to go to school from 2, even before it's still in diaper and everything. So the stress, and the children now go to school with all the same age group. Everybody's stressing them, and they're learning this, and some of them are crying because they want to go back home to their safe haven and stuff like that. So if you don't have core values set up, you're going to default to what society says you should value. And while I had said nothing is in itself wrong with, say, money or having material possessions, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they're going all out for it no matter the cost, instead of, going along with what your gifts are, working with it, planning diligently, being wise about what you're doing, and your money will flow. The Bible tells you God bless people with wisdom to get riches. So Jesus says a lot of people are going to be in snares and traps to get it, and you're going to lose your soul. We see that happening in our society. Society is stressed. With these values as the subconscious standard for human behavior, it what? If you have what I just showed you, money, image, competition, you're putting the children in school to compete against, you're rushing, everybody fighting at this, that. It's not, just do your best. And what your best is, we'll accept. No, why you get lower than this, Jan? And, the competition, competitive spirit, all of that is going to lead to anxiety, depression, addictive behaviors, mental illnesses. You don't have core values, you accept what the society have. So that's why I'm saying you have to set that up first. And then, like we did that last week, I did this example, health. Say you value hard work, you value balance, you value flexibility, connectedness, rest, nutrition. You value health. When you list those things, you group it together and say, well, health is important to us. So if rest is important to you, as a family, and you see your children not getting rest, you have to do something. You see that they're not connecting with others, you have to do something. They don't have proper nutrition balance, you have to do something, right? This is the example I did last week. This is the one that Scott Jeffrey gave as a value statement: health, to live with full vitality and energy every day. Every day you're living with full vitality and energy. Think about that. That is your value statement. How are you going to do that? Or if your mental health is not intact, how will you do that if you're not well, right? How will you do that? That's not going to be healthy for the child nor you, everybody. They're stressed, they're edgy, we have to simplify. It goes back to the answer. So let's get to it. So how to simplify your child's life? This is what you're here for. And we had to do that so it's to see that, yes, it is important. It's a need. It's a desperate need and a desperate cry. There is a war on children, and we have to do differently. This is a work of darkness. To not do this is a work of darkness. What are we doing? Are we going according to what God has called us to do? Then yes, we have to step up. Where He's going to ask us, what about my little flock, your little flock that God has given to you? Look at these children. I always like to see their little pictures, right? And their little faces in real time. How to simplify your life, your child's life. First of all, prioritize prayer and God's word. That is going to be important, because in this world, when the society starts saying, get up and go, when the pressures around you come and you said, no, Lord, I am staying in prayer with you. Guide me. Ask God for wisdom. God is someone who will give you wisdom. He gives it a lot. God is a God of abundance. Whatever you ask, He said, you ask it. Jesus said, you ask it in my name, you will receive. God is a God of abundance. So He will answer your prayer, and use God's word as a guide. Look over the lives of people. As a matter of fact, if you look at Jesus's life, you never heard anything about Jesus's life apart from the fact that he was a baby. They tried to kill him. And then he was about 2, and his parents rushed with him down in Egypt. He went to Bethlehem. And then after that, you heard nothing more until he was 12 and in the temple. What happened to those years? Those years were spent in the scriptures. They were spent by growing up in the hills of Galilee. Innocent years. You preserve that. As parents, you preserve those years. Keep the children as innocent as long as you can. Don't speak foolishness about, oh, they're going to grow up and learn it anyway. They're going to learn it anyway, so don't try to teach them before time. What is the point of a 3-year-old learning the things that a 15-year-old should know? How harmful will that be? Hmm? And as a matter of fact, even now, when they advertise to children, they bypass parental guidance and ad goes straight to children. First time it was advertising to parents. Parents, you can purchase this. No, it's no, it's going straight to the kids with all the toys, all the food, bypassing. And one of the ways they did that is to give the children screens, screens, billions of dollars invested to get screens into the children's hand to destroy them. Don't tell me this is not an agenda coming from hell. It is from the devil himself. And so don't just say, everything is this and that. No, there is something going on here. Our children are not well. And why? The hustle culture, the screens, and the aim is once you get a child from 3 to buy into anything by 6, 3 to 6, that gap right there, they are going to purchase it when they get bigger. They're going to fall for it. So everything, the advertising, the pumping, deception. So to keep from deception, read God's words. Look at how people were raised. Moses could have been raised in the temple. He would have been saved in there in Egypt with the prince. We could have been raised in Pharaoh's house. But God had a plan for him. And what God did he give him to Pharaoh at zero, at the baby? No, he didn't. It was what, until age 12. Very important for you to realize. So he could have gone in there and said, oh, well, his life is saved. No, God don't only, he's not looking at just life. As I said, if you're not in good health, if you have life and you're not in good health mentally, then it doesn't, mentally, physically, how is that going to serve help you in terms of you want the best, so you want to strive for the best. God always tried to do that. So we want to get people the help that they need so they can function the very best way. So read the word of God and pray and see how God did it in the Bible. See how children grew up. Very simple life, and yet still they were leaders. We see that even in with Joseph, was a leader. A leader's life was very quiet. You growing up with the shepherd, with the boys, and even David became king. Come on, let's pay attention. Let's pay attention. Prepare nutritious meals. So how do we simplify their lives? Prepare nutritious meals, because what is going on here is you're impacting the brain and what they eat. So they're not just grabbing here and there sugar because of inconvenience. So you're rushing. You prepare a meal and the children can sit and eat it and delight in it. And it will help their soul. It will help their body. It will definitely help their body. And so prepare nutritious meals, their mind, nutrients is key. They talk about all the different nutrients that we need, the physical. Pay attention to the nutrients that we need, the vitamins and the minerals, all of those things. That's important. But how many mothers or fathers have time to sit down and prepare a proper meal? They probably don't, because they're rushing. So the world, again, corporations are feeding children. Problem, because your brain, everything is just affecting your cognitive development. Everything is coming after the mind and the body. Children need to eat healthily. They're growing, their body is growing fast, right? And their bones need to be developed. So you're simplifying their life by preparing nutritious meals, simple meals they can sit and eat. They're not in sugar or ingredients in the pack. You ever read some ingredients? You can't even pronounce it. You don't know what it is. But if you take up tomatoes, the lady cutting up there, you know that this is tomato, right? This is this is that, and you prepare it for yourself. There's no hidden ingredients. Follow simple routine. This is another way to simplify. Follow a simple routine. When to eat meals. Children, they function better when their routines are predictable. That's just children. And even adults sometimes too. How would you want to just wake up this morning? You don't know if you're going to have food. How would you behave? You don't know if you're going to have, you'll be scrambling and panic, nervous because everything out of whack. So you're going to have them, they're going to be hyper alert. They're going to be stressed. The same thing the man is saying. You're going to have all of these things. They don't have a proper bedtime. My children, we have our mealtime, we have the bedtime routine, so they know if they're going up against bedtime or if they get a little over, they know it's grace. Because they know it, they know the time, right? Bath time, prayer time, a time to pray. Come, you don't just pray when stress take you. but you pray all the time so they know that this is communion with God. We have a little time when you gather the children together, you have your own prayer, but you have now you gather them and you're teaching them. So they have a little simple little routine. See, in the picture there, they're brushing teeth. So just a simple routine that you brush your teeth, you wake up in the morning, you do these little things, and they come back home and they do these things, or those are home. This is how you are going to function with your chores and so they have a little routine that is built in that will help to simplify their life. Ensure free play. This is another one that is just so striking and painful. People feel like they have to be telling the children what to do. And I think this is one of the other things that they're saying, that today we are now more focusing on physical protection, and the emotional protection is not there. So everything is just coming at the children. Too much information, too fast, too soon. Everything, there's no filter. Everywhere they look, there's information. They're listening and they're constant. We're breaking our kids when we do that. They need free play. What does that mean? It's not organized by an adult. They go outside and they play. That way they can think deeper. You get time to you get time to think and to play with what you're doing. Nobody say, okay, come on, time is up. You're gonna go here, everybody line up here, and you do some free play. This is a call and a plea to also schools, especially or private schools who have these private schools. You don't have to follow the system of the government. And I'm also calling on those on the government schools as well. I have worked in both systems and I know what it is. 20 minutes, especially here in America, 20 to 30 minutes and 20 minutes playtime, 20 minutes. Tell me now, when children supposed to be moving, their motor skills supposed to be developing, and all of this is when they are sitting down and you give them 20 minutes. Remember, everything comes with the action. Your movement, your brain is developing cognitive. You can't tell me this is not a plan and strategy. There is a war on children. Yes. So ensure free play where the children can play, not 5, 10, 20 minutes. That is not enough. It's too short. And some schools only give 50 minutes and they get back. What are they getting back to? To your colors, to your this. I can guarantee you, if you don't put down paper and say to a child, this is green, they will learn it. And you're going to be shocked. When did you learn this is green? Well, they learn it because you say, oh, the grass green and pretty today. So they're listening to you. That's how they learned it. Or you may say, oh, hang up that green picture. There's a picture behind me there. Oh, and they learn it. Give me that red bag. They learn the colors. You live in that house with a red bag for 5 years. Come on, the child is going to learn a red bag. So they don't need to come back into class and sit down whole day learning red, green, pink. Let them play. Ensure free play. Are you getting? I hope you are getting what I'm saying this evening. This is a cry. My heart is full and heavy because of where our society has gone with our children. This is not good. Yeah, another thing, limit screen time. Screen time. I did a presentation. No screen for children under 2. That's World Health Organization recommendation. No screen at all. And how many babies you see with screens now? As soon as they're born, parents have big TV before them. And if it's not the TV, it's a little iPad. They're touching and they're so proud. Oh, they're touching it. No. How about picking a leaf and giving the child to hold and say, look at this leaf? Get them in touch with other things. That can keep a baby occupied. Just anything. You don't have a screen to occupy a baby. It's what we're feeding them. And like I said, this is an intentional thing. So we have to make up our minds and do right. Do right by our children. You got to do right by the children. This is a call. This is a plea. No screen. And then as they get older, balance. You don't even have to have a much screen. Limit it. Because like I said, I did the research. I did the presentation to you about the stress, how the schools are calling on more psychologists, more counselors, more this. Why? And they ask the question, why is this going on? The screens. And when we ask, the screens, the social media for girls, ages 10 to 12, damaging, messing them up emotionally, and the video games for the boys. So limit the screens. There's much more to life. Life is beautiful. God has given us a world. We cannot afford that people who come up with these things that you should just captivate your mind into this. What a waste. What a waste of a mind. Some of these children are so smart. As a matter of fact, other did a research, a majority of children are geniuses, 90 something percent. And by the time they reach 20 something years old, it's only 2% of the all those children that go and down. We kill the children's mind by ramming things into it, ramming, and just constantly putting things in there, putting the screen before them. They're going to cry out with mental health illnesses. It's a boundary to cope. Is the way they're coping. How sad. Follow simple schedules. Number 6, follow simple schedules. Less is a more. What do I mean by this? You have a birthday party to attend this week. You have a meetup date, play date this week. You have church to attend. You have this, you have that, you have that, you have that. You have a million things. You have gymnastics, you have swimming. Hey, come on. What are we doing? Cut that down. These are children. Cut it down. Maybe just do two. Do two. That's okay. It's fine. You don't need to take picture, 50 picture, put up. My daughter is in gymnastics, my this, that. You can do it. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying we don't need to be competing with anybody. Choose one and do it. You don't need 10. Literally, it's like you're literally frying the brain of the kids. Literally. It's just too much. So follow a simple schedule. And you know what? I have to pause here as I remember Michael Jackson, and he spoke about his childhood, right? He had what was called Neverland when he got older, because his childhood, he said after school, he came home and he had to be practicing. So he was working on Fame. His father had them practicing. He couldn't go outside to play with the other kids or to just decompress after school, man. Just go play. He couldn't do it. And so he missed out on a childhood. And what did he do? Try to recreate his childhood. I'm telling you, this thing follow you forever. Traumatized, trauma, stress, traumatic childhood. So what he did, he recreated this thing where it's like he would never grow up. Right? He would always have this, oh God, it's always have the things to go through because of his childhood. Right? He didn't have that childhood. He was robbed of his childhood. Robbed of his childhood because of because of entertainment and pursuing. He could have been singing, yes, during his childhood, but it was just taken up, totally controlled. So he didn't have much time. So think about that. So follow simple schedules. You don't need to overwhelm your children. Overwhelmed, panic attacks. Panic. As a matter of fact, even parents today are going through panic attacks. Panic attacks. People, we have the power of choice. God has given us freedom, parents. Step in, intervene in the lives of your children and do right by your children. Prioritize time in nature as a family. Do these things together as a family. Go for walks. Put away iPad, put away TV, put away people's thoughts, and just go for a walk and spend that time with your family. And I keep saying, I remember growing up in the country here when I was about after I turned 11. Beautiful, calm, and I can tell you, we grew up in nature surround you right through. You're going to pick mangoes. You're going to do whatever. Even here, we pick apples. Apple time, you can go pick apples. You can do peaches. You can look for opportunities to go and spend time in nature. Look for it. Just go walking in the woods. I know that in the movies they put it so the woods are scary, so you could stay out of it. And they put the cities so vibesy, so everybody want to go in it and go in the rat race and keep on that thing and run yourself in the ground and run your children into exhaustion, right? No, and I'm not, and listen, this is for wherever you are, whether you're in the city or in the country. Take a stand and prioritize and simplify your child's life. There's no excuse. Wherever you are, you can do these things, even though the ideal place would be to be in a quiet area surrounded by nature. But if that's not your situation right now, do what you can do right now. Put them in nature. Nature is so healing to the mind and the body. Huh? Have you ever been stressed? You just step out into nature and look and just go walking and you feel so at peace. Even a baby crying A baby crying, and the baby, you take that baby and put that baby in nature, and automatically, I can tell you, if you have a baby now, a young newborn, crying, 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 you change the baby, you feed the baby, you walk the baby, and the baby is still crying, just step outside. Step outside. And I'm going to tell you, that's the remedy. Instantly, that baby is going to stop crying. Instantly, unless there is something else really going on, like a pin in the baby or something. I don't know. People don't use pin like that anymore. But that baby is going to stop. That baby needs calm, nature, in touch, So put that out there to get your children in the dirt, in the mud. They were made for this. They were made for this. Don't think, oh, you're going to get yourself all messed. No, they were made for it. It's so good, so calming, so beautiful. God has created so many beautiful things for us to see. I heard someone say we don't even know how to give praise. God's people, because somebody hit a ball and everybody, yeah. But when you go outside and you see the beautiful work of God, you should praise God. Beautiful work. When you walk past people and see them, you should praise God. Beautiful. We're all God's handiwork. And that's why God and David commune so much. He had time to stop and identify and say, God, your hands, you make things well. I am wonderfully made. The mountains are beautiful. Praising God and giving God compliment for his work. Praise him. Hey, that's worship that came up to God as worship. So when we go in nature and spend time, hear the voice of God and bring peace, simplify your children's life. They can go plant corn, they can do a little garden. If they don't have that, they can just walk and go outside in nature, surround them. That's beautiful. So for the first 8 or 10 years of a child's life, the fields, I just mentioned that, or garden is the best schoolroom. The mother, the best teacher. Nature, the best lesson book. This is child guidance, page 303. Think about that. The best. Do you want to give your child the best? Think into these things. Are we giving them the best when you put an iPad before them all day? Are you doing that? No. We want to give the best. So think on these, what this is saying. Eliminate access to adult content. Sorry, that is not showing clearly. Eliminate access to adult content. Too much, our children are, as I said, let the children stay children for as long as they can. Don't follow the world about, oh, they're going to grow up, and let them force ripe. Have you ever seen, it's so pleasant when children come and they are not knowledgeable about certain things. It's so funny, their little quirks and things that they give you. You have to laugh. Sometimes I get some good jokes from my kids because they're children and their mind and the things. And sometimes they challenge me with their questions, right? But guess what? Adult content, meaning like, no, we have a big thing going on in the US. Keep them out of that. Somebody put them in the drama of the politics and the stress of what's going on, and don't do that. Take the phones and all the things that they are exposed to, and you give them an iPad early and they're on YouTube. It's corrupting their minds. And all of a sudden you're like, this thing spoiled up my son or my daughter. Who is that? They just don't come in. The innocence has just been ripped away. So to simplify their life, because adult content creates anxiety, even adult stress. Some people have the news on all day, or they just have something running in the background noise all day. Adult content stress adults, much less kids. High blood pressure into people, stressed out, heart attack, panic attacks. We don't want that for our kids. So protect them. Don't give them access to adult content. Let them stay out of that type of a conversation, right? So divisiveness and all of that, no. We want to keep their lives simple and pure. 9, declutter. And it's 10, so I have a last one. Your own stuff. First, declutter your own stuff and then your children's stuff. By the way, did you know? Because majority of what we have, we don't use. Majority, I think if you have 80% of what you have, you don't use. So where is your money going? So that's what you see why Solomon said is it's like you're fighting against the wind, vanity and vexation of spirit. You buy 10 pair of shoes, you find yourself only wearing 2 all the time. So you spend all of that hours working extra, not spending time with the children, rushing them off so you can buy things that you don't use. Shocking. Huh? And the majority, I think it's the majority of houses here in America probably have 3,000 items. 3,000. You walk around and count in your house, you better be shocked. 3,000 items. Too much clutter. Clutter. right? So declutter. Look around your house, things that you're not using, get rid of it. You may have old cords from that's broken from not working, throw them out. Old people may have old remotes, get rid of them. Plates pack up from how long you never used 10 years ago, get rid of them. Free up space in your house. When you do that, you free up space in your mind as well. They say when you see something sitting that you never use is a decision waiting to be made. So you that, and then the toys, so you get rid of it. Some children have just too many. 150 pieces of toys, they say in American household. They will gather, and at least 70 pieces per year. Toys, birthdays, people just randomly giving them, church functions, everywhere they're just getting toys, 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 toys. That is impacting their mental health, creating a lot of stress and anxiety. And most times people give parents give the children toys instead of, it's like they're trying to substitute it for something, right? They're trying to substitute it for something where I don't have time, so I can give you this toy. And they just keep shopping, shopping, shopping. And this has just become an obsession, giving the children. And the children, because they cannot process, like I said, too much time, too many toys, too much screen, too much of everything, just be stressful. And if you have 100 toys, how are you going to play with anyone really well? Huh? And that's why I don't really support if people come into birthday parties and everybody bringing seven, you invite 50 people and 50 toys left back in your house for that one child. Take some of it and donate. Or you come up with a plan for this birthday, this is what we want you to donate towards or something. But it's just a waste. And the child cannot process, and it creates anxiety, stress, and a lot of behavioral problems. Some people, did you know that they did a study? If you're going to sell someone something and you have too many options, they walk away. They will walk away unless they come into you knowing what they want. If they don't know what they want, they will walk away. So less is more. You have less toys. How many of you grew up with one doll and you cherish that doll? You have a few pieces of clothes and the child can cherish that's it, this jacket, and know where it is, know how to keep track of it. They can't keep track of so many things. Okay, so it's not that you don't love them, why they only have a few. It is because you love them why they have a few, and you're trying to protect their mental health. You're simplifying their lives so they can grow to be emotionally stable. That's important. And the last and final one is take time to connect with people of all ages. This is very important. Let your children connect with not just their own age group all day. That is just maddening. Take time to connect with all age group. They will grow up better, more rounded. Okay. So at church, you may have a lot of different age group. Maybe where you live, it's just, depends on the age group, the community. But take them to do service. They can go and see the elderly as well. Instead of children being scared of the elderly, you shouldn't be scared. They should be growing up with them around. We have created a culture that isolates people and put them in groups. And this is a plan. This is a plan to get all the young people one place. And when their hormones are changing over and there's no guidance there to do whatever, when they started the school system as they started it, a lot of problems they've never seen before because of this sudden burst of freedom without any guidance that happened, destroy the lives of so many. People will tell you, man, I had regret. If you hear people talk about how they were growing up and they wish they had more guidance, important to surround your children with intergenerational. So you have, and even I think Joshua White, he talks about that even in our churches. You have Sabbath school and everybody is, you're replicating the school system as it is. The younger ones by themselves, this one by themselves, that by the time you know it, young people want to be by themselves. Listen, when I was growing up, we had our young people time, our young people programs, and it was the best when the elderly, they were all there. We love that. They gave support. When we have social and we see the elderly there doing their thing, and so we feel good. We didn't want to not see them. We wanted them to be there. It was very nice. And even when you were growing up and your parents came and they played anything with you, you feel good. So we need to do that, help them to connect with all ages. As they grow up, they did studies asking people, what was your most golden moments growing up? And it is either in nature, with a friend, or with family. It's always, so connect. God made us to be not to be isolated, but to connect with people, right? So you know people and you are there to see and to nurture as well. Let them get to know others, and like I said, of all age groups, because we need each other. There is a society that is pushing the elderly away. Nobody don't have time because they're caught up in also in the screen. They don't have time to take the elderly hand. They can't bother. They just push them away and don't. God is not pleased. God is not pleased because he talks about respecting the gray hairs. Okay. And God talks about protecting and justice for people. This is so we have to take care of God's children all over. So that's important. So finally, this is one. The first, I think I had given you that. This one, the first 8 or 10 years, children should not be long confined within doors. Just reviewing. Nor should they be required to apply themselves closely to study until a good foundation has been laid for physical development. Physically fit. You should not grow and just sit down all day. As I'm saying, this is an appeal to schools as well, just for the children to be moving. Because what? You need that type of a movement. And on here, I advocate as much as possible for people for homeschooling. This is a thing that is not a thing, it's coming up as much as you can, especially the younger years and growing up, because of how our society is structured. The society is structured in a certain way. And so our schools, as say, appeal to them to make as much changes as you can, right? Because some people definitely will need you. So even when the child is old enough to attend, his health should be regarded as a greater importance than a knowledge of books. Health is important. I tell you, health is a resource. Money is a resource. Time. There are so many resources that we don't need to be just ramming, just thinking it's academics, academics. Our children need to be around it. It is stressing them. It is stressing them, and we're seeing symptoms that they're in a war, just like the children who are in war, hyper alert, nervous, jumpy. And these are children who are safe. They're not in a war zone, but they are behaving like this because their mental health is going. They're in a hustle and bustle society, and it's damaging their minds and it's thinning their brains. They did the research on the screen. It's literally doing some brain thinning. See, these are last days. Remember Noah and his family? Only they were saved. They were doing something different. Noah found grace in the eyes of God. What were all the other families doing? Were they following the culture? We can't afford to do that in these last days. We have warnings. We should follow the word of God. Okay, Mark 8, verse 36, it says, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall lose the whole world and lose his soul? Gain the whole world and lose his soul. What shall it profit a child? What shall it profit anybody to be hustling and bustling and pushing?" So, parents, you have to intervene in the life of your children. Do some changes, change up things. We are God's people. God is the one who provides for us. We put things in motion, we do our best, we apply our skills, we think. Okay, and God will give us wisdom how to get and earn, but we don't need to be putting aside everything at all costs to follow the go-getting lifestyle, being on the hamster wheel at whatever it takes, whatever breakup. Marriages are breaking up. The Bible tell you last days, marrying and getting into marriage, it don't matter. I'm getting my thing. I'm boss chick, I'm superwoman. All that foolishness, absolute foolishness, because we need both the male and the female. Luke 12, verse 15, "And he said to them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses." Our value is in Jesus Christ. That's where our value is. If we die tomorrow, God forbid, you can't take anything with you. And there are people on their bed, last words, they don't call for more things or more whatever. As long as they are Christians, they are repentant and they want to know that their souls are right and they did right. So I'm encouraging our parents to simplify the life of your children, right? So that they can grow up to be healthy children and healthy adults. And I'm telling you, in turn, that will be so rewarding for you when you see how God has used you to go against the grain, to swim upstream, to go differently from the culture. And so this evening, I say, continue. to stay on the narrow road, because you know the broad road leads to destruction. The Bible says many are on it. But I am grateful that as a people of God, we decide to do that. So let me end with prayer. Dear God, I want to thank you so much for this presentation this evening. I thank you for what you have allowed me to share. And I pray, Lord, that all those who listened, that this will do them well, that it will be of good instruction to them and to their children, and that you will bless their homes so that they will find peace in you, and they will know that their value is in you. We thank you for what you're doing through Family and Point. And I pray, God, that you will continue to give us the strength to go forward. I pray, Lord, for those who will come after and those who will listen, that you will impress upon their hearts the changes that you want them to make, especially in these last days. We thank you, Jesus, for hearing and answering our prayers. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for staying on. Remember to like and share, and you can still comment so that the video will go out. Thank you all and have a wonderful evening.